solving or finding the roots of a quadratic equation that has the form a constant multiplied by x squared plus b multiplied by x plus c equal to 0. So we want to find the value of x that makes this quadratic equation equal to 0. It is a quadratic, that means the maximum number of solutions is 2. They are called roots. In the class, we need to define data members a, b, and c for the coefficients that represents the three coefficients of the equation. Also, we need to write a constructor for the arguments for a, b, and c. So when we create an object from this class, we want to supply these coefficients. Also, we need to write a method that is called getDiscriminant that returns the discriminant which is equal to the equation b squared minus 4ac. And this equation is going to be used in the equation for finding the roots. Finally, we need to write two methods, one for getting the first root and the other one for getting the second root. This is the equation for the first root, minus b plus the square root of the discriminant divided by 2a, and the second root is minus b minus the square root of the discriminant divided by 2a. These methods are useful only if the discriminant is non-negative. Why? Because if the answer under the square root is negative, we are going to have a runtime or logical error. Let these methods return 0 if the discriminant is negative. A point here we would like to clarify before we proceed to the next step. Notice that for a quadratic equation, if a is equal to 0, then it's not going to be a quadratic equation anymore. So if you want to create an object from this class, in your program, make sure that a is not equal to 0. In the next step, write a test program that prompts the user to enter the values for a, b, and c and displays the result based on the discriminant. So we are going to display the result according to the discriminant. If the discriminant is positive, then we will display the two roots. If the discriminant is 0, we will display one root. Why? Because we are going to have only one root, r1 equal to r2, because the square root of the discriminant in both equations equal to 0. Otherwise, we will display that the equation has no roots. It's not mentioned in the problem statement that if a is equal to 0, then the object created from this class cannot be used. But we will add this when we implement the program. Let's go to JGrasp to implement this program. Click File. So we are going to create the class, public class, and we are going to call it quadratic equation. And the data inside will be the private double values a, b, and c. And now for the constructor, let me write a comment. So here we have the data members. For the constructor, public, it should have the same name as the class. And we should supply the input parameters, the three parameters, double, a, comma, double, b, comma, double, and c. Here, since the input parameters have the same names as the data members, then we have to tell the compiler that we want to move the input parameter a into the data member a. So when you say this.a, that means we are referring to a that is inside the class. If we ignore this, then the compiler will simply move the input parameter a to itself, and this a is never changed. So in here we write this dot, and again for b we will write this dot b equal b, and then we say this dot c equal c to move the input parameters into the data members a, b, and c. For the method getDiscriminant, it is public and its return value is double, and the name will be getDiscriminant with empty input parameters and inside we will implement the equation by writing return. And remember that this method returns the result of the equation b squared minus 4ac. For b squared, we will use the power method inside math class, math.pow b comma 2. So this will give me b squared minus 4 multiplied by a multiplied by c. Now notice that this equation needs b, a, and c, and all of them are data members in the class. So this is why we don't need any input parameters. And also the return value of this equation, a, b, and c are all double, is double. So the return value of this method is double. For the last two methods, get root 1 and get root 2, public, both will return double, and we will call the first one get root 1 with empty input parameters. Remember that it says in the problem statement that if the discriminant returns negative number, then this method should return 0. So first we will check for the discriminant. So I'm going to call this method get discriminant, and then we will check if it is less than 0, then this method will return, let me just write it on the same line, will return 0. Otherwise, it will return the implementation of the equation minus b plus the square root, which is available in the math class, math.sqrt of the discriminant. And again, I'm going to copy the name of the method that will give me the discriminant, divided by 2 multiplied by a. In this code, as you can see, we are using the method get discriminant twice. So we are doing the calculation twice. Maybe if you want to save some calculations, you can save the discriminant inside a variable. So you remove the call of this method, Control X, and save it here. And then use the saved value and discriminant in your subsequent code. So here you are going to check if discriminant is less than 0, return 0. Otherwise, you don't need to call discriminant again. Simply use the value that you have saved inside the variable discriminant. We will copy the method and we will use it for getting root number 2. The difference is that for root number 1, the equation minus b plus, and in here we have minus b minus. So why these two methods return double? Because the return value of this equation is double. And why we don't need any input parameters? Because all the data that it needs already exist inside the class. Basically, they are the variables b, a, and c. It seems that here we have a problem. Here we are opening a brackets, opening another one. So we have to also close these brackets. Otherwise, we are going to have syntax errors. So we are finished from implementing the class. Now we need to check that it does not have any syntax errors. So we will save it first. And then we will compile it to check there are no errors. So it is good that we don't have any syntax errors. Now we need to test this class in a program. We have two choices. Either we create a separate class and we write the main method inside it, or as we have just learned that we can write a main method in the same class. So instead of writing another class, we will just simply implement the main method here. So I'm going to write a comment, the main method. So it is public static void main string args, and it is the same method that we were using in separate class. Since we are going to read from the user, Then we need to import the scanner. So we will have import java.util.scanner, and then we will prompt the user to enter these three parameters, the coefficients of the quadratic equation, after creating a scanner. So here I'm going to say data declaration, and first we create a scanner. We are going to call it read equal a new scanner system.n, and then we will define the coefficients a, b, and c, and now is for input. So this is input. So we will ask the user to enter these three coefficients. So we will print a message, enter the coefficients for the quadratic equation, and we will write separate line for the equation. So let me just write it like here, ax raised to power 2 plus bx plus c equal to 0. So here we are saying enter the coefficients. Let us write here a, comma, b, and c for the quadratic equation, and we display it on the screen. And we are going to read it from the same line. So I will remove here println, the second println, and we will read the first coefficient by calling next double, and b is equal to read dot also next double, and finally c is equal to read dot next double. We will first check for a. If a is equal to 0, then we should stop the program, because we cannot create an object from the quadratic equation class if a is equal to 0. And we will tell the user that a should not be equal to 0. And we will stop the program by saying system.exit.0. Otherwise, we will create an object. So we will call it equation. So this is the name of the class, a quadratic equation. And we will call it EQN equal to new, and we will call the constructor quadratic equation, and we will supply the three values taken from the user as input parameters to the constructor. First, we need to check for the discriminant, and if the discriminant is positive, we will display the two roots. If the discriminant is equal to 0, we will display only one root, because the two roots will be equal. Otherwise, we will display the equation has no roots. So we will say if eqn dot get discriminant greater than 0. So here we have two roots, system.out.println, and we will say root 1 is equal to, and here we will say eqn.get root 1. And we will go to a new line, and we will say root 2 is equal to, and we will print equation get root 2. Else, if I will just simply copy this code and paste it here, and if this is equal to 0, then we have only one root. So we will say that system.out.println, and we will say 1 root equal to, and now here you have the choice to call get root 1 or get root 2. So eqn dot get root 1. Finally, else we will tell the user system.out.println that the equation has no roots. And by this line, we finish the implementation of the main method. We will save it, and now is the time to test and run the program. So we run the program. There are some errors. Here we have next. Okay, so misspelling. Again, correct this error. So it seems that we are making some misspelling. And now we don't have any syntax errors. So we will give now 3 values. Let's say A is equal to 1. And let's say that B is equal to, let's say, 5. And let's say C is equal to 6. So here we have 2 roots, -2 and -3. Run the program again. If we have A is equal to 1 and B is 4 and C is 4. So there is only one root, which is equal to -2. And now we will run it again. Let us give all these values 1. And here it says that the equation has no roots.